first pasta.
Good dawning, amazing people! Welcome, welcome, welcome. I hope you're all having a wonderful Sunday morning. We're definitely enjoying ourselves with this wonderful sun. It's a great day to be alive, I would say. And welcome, Scott.
Thank you, Elena.
How are you?
Not too bad at all for a Sunday dawning.
Not too bad. That doesn't sound that great. It should be amazing.
Pretty amazing.
So this is part of the series that I'm running at the moment where we actually want you to get to know us better. Know what we stand for, know our values. This sun is really crazy in my eyes. But we did want to have a bit of sun in our face. So here we are. And yeah, so we just want to share a bit of what we stand for, where we come from, who we are, what services as well we provide, and so many other things. So here we are. Dear Scott, tell us a little bit about you. Where you come from?
I come from the stars.
You come from the stars. Well, that's great.
As we all did.
As we all did. Yeah. A bit more of that.
To elaborate on the question a little bit more.
Do you want me to elaborate on the question?
Yeah,
okay.
A bit of a deep dive.
Let's do a bit of a deep dive. All right. So let's just give a bit of background. Where were you born? Simple things.
I was born in Young, in New South Wales, in Australia.
So you're your average Aussie bloke?
I don't know about the average bit, but yeah, I'm an Aussie bloke.
And how long you been in Tassie?
Moved down to Tassie about 20 years ago, almost exactly 20 years ago. Yeah, from the Big Island, mainland Australia.
So what drove you to move here?
Wow, lots of factors, really. One of the big ones was on the possibility of these times that are existing now coming to fruition and existing, which obviously they are. Yeah, I've been speaking out about the nonsense. Let's call it out for what it is. It's the New World Order in full swing.
Yeah.
I've been calling it out for 30 years and warning people about it, and not for my benefit. I honestly didn't think it would happen in my life. It was for future generations, basically. But on the off chance that it did go a little bit hairy, which it has, I thought Tassie was probably a better place to be than mainland Australia if that happened. And one of the reasons for that was the amount of fresh water here in Tassie, apart from anything else. There's just rainwater and fresh water and springs and stuff everywhere. Peaceful, quiet, relaxed country atmosphere.
Cleanest air as well in the world.
True. Yeah, it's got so many things going for it, Tasmania. I absolutely love the place.
So let's deep dive a little bit in the rabbit hole. So you say 30 years ago you started, talking about the things that now have been happening. How did you get down that road?
I was actually just reflecting as you were talking. It was more than 30 years ago. I was about 20 years old at the time, which makes it about 40 years ago. And I was sitting in the pub. I think it was on a Friday night, which I regularly did then, sit in pubs. And I was talking to some guy, I can't even remember who it was now, but it was some old guy that I did respect and used to spend a bit of time with. And we were sitting at the bar and we were pretty drunk, and he was talking to me and he told me how there was 13 bloodline families run and control the world and control the money and Big Pharma and the media and the whole thing and the royals. And I was like, I thought he was a bit crazy actually initially. But I spent the last 40 years now turning it inside out and investigating it, and I found out that everything he said was bloody true. Yeah, so that was my main motivation for moving to Tassie. I have thought about moving a few times and leaving Tassie, but I then sort of slapped myself and come back to my senses and what are you doing? It's a bit funny some days, especially in the last 4 years with the nonsense that's been going on with COVID. I'll be sitting on my veranda and I'm looking at the hills and the sheep and the cows and the wedge-tailed eagles, and I think this is beautiful. But I need to talk to people. But then I log on to social media and have a look at what's going on in the rest of the world. I mean, whoa, cancel those plans. I don't need to talk to anyone. I'm quite happy sitting here. So it's a bit of a double whammy sometimes. It's very isolated, very remote out here where we are, but I think it's got more pluses than negatives.
I personally think there's way more pluses than negatives. And yeah, that's why I'm enjoying being in Tassie as well. it's so much more calmer, and it doesn't have all the crazy shit, because living in Tassie and being rural, the things that are priorities are very different from mainland.
Absolutely, and it's hard to put into words. It's energy. It's a vibe. And it's just very peaceful and calm compared to the Big Island. It's just a country atmosphere, which you tend to find in country towns, and the whole bloody Tassie's basically a big country town.
It is.
Pretty much. I think it's backwards and slower than the mainland. But I think, again, that's got more positives than negatives.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I do find, actually, I read a book just recently, the Amish people gave me, and that was really another wake-up call, because it showed when the industrialization started how much change and how simple life and happy life became so disruptive, and people stopped actually communicating and spending time with each other. And again, the priorities have changed very, very much compared to 50, 60, 100 years ago.
For sure. And I think when we look back at the history of the human race, go down the rabbit hole and dig deep, and don't just listen to the history of what we were told at school. There's a hell of a lot of evidence to suggest that previous generations that have been basically wiped out, or not quite wiped out, or we wouldn't be here, a lot of that has had to do with our technological advances outweighing our spiritual advances. And I see that in full swing at the moment, especially to do with AI. We're still trying to discover who and what we are, and our natural organic intelligence that exists. And here we are now playing with artificial intelligence. I think we would do well to get back to basics and concentrate on our organic.
Yeah, on being more organic. So when you started delving deep into everything that is happening, how has that shaped your path? How has that shaped your choices and the things that you study and the things that you've used to improve yourself and your lifestyle?
Yeah, I guess basically I come back to what pulls at my heartstrings most of the time and try and get out of my head as much as possible. When making decisions, I think we're all being asked as a race in general to do that at the moment and step into our heart space as opposed to our head space. Have a look at that cat. That is out of control.
So sorry, we got just my cat Akira that she's doing a climbing thing on the tent. Anyway,
yeah. So for me, I guess it's just remembering who I am, and yeah, just being grounded and again staying organic.
But you have done a lot of different things to learn more about yourself and to deal with all the things that, you know, we've been programmed with and all the childhood stuff. So that has been a very long journey for you. So how did that start?
Well, I guess the main catalyst for me with my personal growth, I don't guess, I know, was the catalyst for my personal growth with a motor vehicle accident that I had in 1986, 87 on New Year's Eve, 20 to 12 in Sydney. I was a pedestrian, 6 lanes of highway, and I got skittled by a Mitsubishi van, actually the same as the van I own at the moment, which is a bit ironic, and got pretty messed up and basically spent the next 2 years in the hospital. I was in the Navy at the time and spent a week at Mount Druitt Hospital in Sydney, and then was transferred to a hospital in the Navy in Sydney and basically spent the next 2 years there rehabilitating and trying to get my life back together. But I woke up a different person. It was a near-death experience. I have dreamt it and visualised it since, and I was on the fence as to whether I was finishing my life in this body or whether I was going to continue. And obviously I made the decision, or the universe did, for me to continue because I'm still here.
And we're very grateful for it.
Yeah, so am I, actually. enjoying life, more so some days than others. But yeah, in general, it's about enjoying life, the ups and downs, the ins and outs. Like, this is life. It's up, it's down, it's the ride. And if it's not up and down, it's doing this, and that's flatlining.
Yeah, we're not leaving.
Totally.
We're not leaving. So it took you 2 years to recover. So you spent 2 years in hospital, right?
Yeah, and I'm still recovering, really. Not from the accident as such, but as far as the personal growth stuff goes, that was the catalyst for me to look deeper at life and who and what I am. I realised after that incident that I was a lot more than a physical body, and the penny hadn't never really dropped, or I'd never really consciously contemplated that in any way, shape or form till after that accident. But it had become very, very aware to me that I was a lot more than this mind and a body, and my life didn't start when I was conceived, and it's not going to end when I die either. The physical part might end, but that's not the truth and the essence of who and what we are. And yeah, I've been down the rabbit hole of personal growth ever since. That would be 30-odd years. Been through 3 rehabs. I didn't go to rehab to stop taking substances. I went to rehabs to get to the bottom of my childhood pain.
Which, by the way, I actually didn't know this, because in Europe it's different. When you go to rehab, you need to be addicted to some substance, and that was when Scott shared that with me, was quite refreshing, knowing that there are places here in Australia that you can actually go to rehabilitate yourself, regardless if you are addicted to any substances or not. And can you delve a bit more into that? What did that rehabilitation look like for you?
Well,
and what was the main, reason for you to go there?
The main reason, the driving force for me, was to get to the bottom of my childhood pain. There was a lot of abuse that I was subjected to, physically, mentally and emotionally, that I do remember and that I do recall, and I knew that was to be worked on. But I also felt, and it ended up being true, that there was a whole heap of other stuff going on too in the background that I wasn't consciously aware of. And a lot of that come to the surface. The last rehab I was at was called the Addiction Help Agency in Cairns, and the whole focus there was on the addiction, and a lot of the people that were there and attended the centre didn't even have physical substances. It was about being addicted to gambling, to sex, to whatever. Being busy is the biggest addiction in the Western world, in my opinion. We're just programmed to be doing all the time. Most people find it very difficult to stop and just be, and to breathe and be present. And it was ironic, because that's what the therapist at the Addiction Help Agency pulled me aside after the second session that he'd had with me. He said, "Scott, you do realise that this is a personal program, and we flip it to meet the individual and where they're at and what their needs are." And he said, "I've developed a plan for you, and it's strategic, and it should you get some benefits for you." And I said, "Yeah, let's go. It's all about the doing. Let's get into it." He said, "Yeah, this is what I'm seeing." I said, "What?" He said, "Don't worry about it." I said, "What do you want me to do?" And he said, "Well, you see that chair there?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "I'm going to take that chair and put it in the backyard." I said, yeah, I'll do that. "And then do what?" "Look at it, doing. He said, "I want you to sit in the chair." I said, yeah, and then do what?" And he said, "Nothing." "Oh, you're fucking with me. What are you talking about? You do nothing." He said, "Yeah, that's what I want you to do, is just sit in that chair and just breathe." I don't know, I thought he was messing with my head, but he was serious, and that's what he wanted me to do. And the point behind it was that he saw that all the other books and retreats and rehabs and counselling sessions and everything else that I was done, it was all about the doing, go. And he realised that was me escaping from my stuff. And yeah, it took me 5 days to be able to sit in that chair for longer than 4 hours at a time.
Oh, wow.
I just kept coming up with the excuses why I had to get out of the chair and go and do something. Make a sandwich, make a phone call, go shopping, pay some bills, visit a friend, whatever. Go to the toilet. I kept finding excuses to get out of that chair. But after the 5th day, I was sitting there for 4 hours, I guess it was, and just concentrating on breathing, and got into a meditative state, and I just dropped. And I just rolled off the chair into the fetal position on the ground and started screaming and crying like a baby for about 2 hours. And that was exactly what I needed. He knew it. And yeah, it was very, very beneficial for me. But again, most people stop. They struggle with stopping. Reminds me of a post I saw on Facebook a few months ago saying the human being is the only living thing on the planet that gets bored.
Yeah.
And it smashed me. And you look at the grass isn't bored. The cows aren't bored. The dog's not bored. Nothing else is bored. The birds aren't bored. They're all just doing their thing. But we've all been programmed to continually do. I think the main reason for that, the establishment has done that, is to just stop us being able to drop.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
And to smell the roses and be present and connect deeply with ourselves, with each other, with the divine, with nature, with everything.
Yeah.
They don't want us connected. They've done everything in their power to stop us being connected to everything.
Yeah, there is so much power in stopping. And yeah, I definitely know, because it's taken me now really over 2 years to slow my life down and to get to the point of being able to just stop. Like I just did, obviously, in the bush. And that's one of the hardest things we can do. And also one of the best things that we can do for ourselves is actually stop everything and just sit in the chair and concentrate on our breathing and let anything that needs to come up to just come up and express itself. 100%. So, during your journey of personal development and self-discovery, what do you think were the tools that were the most useful to you and that had the most impact? Because you've done so many courses and so many different things. And
I have, and retreats and books and thousands of hours with psychologists, psychiatrists, counsellors, therapists, rebirthers, you name it. And they've all had their place. I can't think of anything that has been detrimental, really. I've gained from all of them, but the number one tool, and again, I'm a qualified therapist and counsellor and hypnotist and all sorts of weird and wonderful things myself, but the number one tool that I've come across for me and my personal growth, and again, for me, that all comes back to remembering who and what we are, and the most powerful tool that I've found for that is that series of books, of conversations with God.
yeah, Conversation with God, great series. Make sure you read it or download it on Audible, because I as well, for me, it was a great book to listen and read. And actually, we do re-listen quite often to different points.
For sure, and it was ironic for me too, because I was still struggling with the word God, because I still had this image of the bearded man in the sky with organised religion. And I attended the oldest Catholic boys' high school in Australia and was just slammed with organised religion every day of my life, and I was just thinking, this doesn't fit with me. I believe there was something, but it wasn't the image that they projected. I just knew there was something else, but it wasn't the bearded man in the sky.
Yeah, it's a conversation with God, probably the biggest help tool that you had.
Without a doubt. And I picked up the book to take the mickey out of it.
Oh, really?
Because when I heard that this book had been channeled by some guy who'd been channeling God, I'm like, what the fuck? Who is this dude? You're a little bit special. And I've lived with several people and met several people in my life that think they're a little bit special. And they channel. And they say that they're channeling from Source and from God. And they're not channeling from Source and from God. It's from their ego. And I presume this guy was doing the same thing. And I'm like, what? This guy's channeling God? Am I going to rip him a new one? And I opened the book up, take the mickey out of it. And it was my partner at the time had the book. And I started reading it, and it just absorbed me. My whole world stopped. It was book 1, 2, and 3 at the time. There's now a whole heap more. But I read all those 3 books in 2.5 weeks, and I'm not a fast reader. It was like my whole life just stopped. Everything. I hardly ate. I hardly slept. And it was a conversation with me and God, which again isn't the bearded guy in the sky. It was the divine, the spirit, the energy, and love. Call it what you like. We have always over what you call it. But yeah, that for me was profound. It's the most powerful tool I've come across to remind me of the truth and the essence of who and what we are and what life's about.
So out of the book, can you mention maybe a couple of things that were some of your biggest takeouts? I know it's a lot. There's so much content in that in the series and so much goodness. But if you could pick, let's say, 3 things out of the whole thing that were the things that impacted you the most.
I guess for me, 2 of them is how the establishment, this was just pointed out really clearly, how the establishment, which has got a lot to do with organised religion, had a 2-pronged attack about depowering humanity and being able to control humanity, and that was using fear and the illusion of separation, which organised religion bangs on about in a huge way. And I see that that's the crux of all our individual and collective pain, the fact that you think you're you and I think I'm me. Well, maybe not you and me, but a lot of other people on the planet, they don't see this oneness concept. Or they have it as just a concept. But it's not a concept, it's a reality. There's only one of us here.
And it's getting to that knowing that is really the biggest process, I would say.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, that was it. It's the illusion of fear and separation. Was the big one. And that's a lot of that is stemmed from organised religion, and that was its whole purpose.
Yeah, well, I do agree on a lot of those points. I just want to talk a little bit about your career path as well, because all of the choices you have made have, led you to live a very different life, and a life where you have way more freedom than the majority of the population out there. So give us a bit of that. Shoot. We know you were in the Navy for a while.
I was at some stage, yeah. That was a little bit later down the track. But I first left school and I was an apprentice carpenter on Bathurst City Council, working with the council. No, when I was at school, I just wanted to get out of school as quick as possible and get some cash in my pocket and be able to go out and buy motorbikes and cars and chat up ladies and get drunk and have a fat time, basically. That's what life was about, man. And I was sitting around having morning tea one morning at work. I'd been there for 2 years. I'd left school 2 years earlier and I'd been at work for 2 years. And we were sitting around having smoko morning tea one morning. And I was just looking at everyone that I worked with. And, of course, they're pretty much low socio-economic sort of people in society as far as their career went and the income that they're receiving. And then I looked at my family, which aren't low socio-economic and had a lot more money than most of the people that I was working with. And I looked at all my parents' friends and their circle as well. And I thought, everyone's the same. They're all broke. They're all retiring, broken. Irrelevant of whether they earn 20 grand a year or 200 grand a year. They're all in debt. The same way. They're all tied to their jobs. And it just made me sick in the stomach. And I thought, wow, this is what's in front of me. I was 18 years old at the time, and I thought, wow, I got another 40 plus years, 45 years, of sitting around busting my clacker, working for someone else to pick up threepence at the end of the week to just survive until the next week. I thought, I'm not doing that. I'm not playing the game. And I didn't really care at the time what I had to do to avoid being in that situation like everyone else, so long as it wasn't hurting anybody else and wasn't harming anything else. I thought, I'm just going to do whatever I can to get out of that trap. And, yeah, I've had lots and lots of different jobs and career paths. But, basically 12 years ago, I guess it was, I got into crypto when Bitcoin was like $7, $8 or something. The whole story's a little bit embarrassing, to be quite honest, because I should be a multi-millionaire, not just a millionaire, but a multi-millionaire. But I invested in crypto, got into online businesses. I saw that was a massive way to leverage my time and money. And the people that I saw that were doing that properly and successfully were the only people that I knew that had both time and money. Everyone else, even if they had a great job and lots of money, they still didn't have their time. Or the people that had lots of time,
they didn't have the money.
They didn't have any money. They didn't have a job or a business. So, yeah, I've leveraged online businesses and investing in crypto, and I've been really, really slack in both those departments for the last few years. I haven't created any online income, or very little, and I've spent most of my crypto savings. I've had a great time and lived a life of leisure and doing whatever the hell I want, basically, on my terms, which is just delicious. But it's about to hit the wall. I need to create more cash flow and start investing the cash that I've got. So, yeah, I'm on a mission to be doing that at the moment and helping as many people do the same along the way as we can. And again, that's one of the main reasons I see this trap of being busy and working has been set up by the establishment. So people don't have time to sit and discover self and do the personal growth, to get fit, to work out, to be able to eat the good food, to be able to go away on retreats, to be able to afford the good health products, whatever. And growth in general, and just being able to stop and smell the roses. They don't want us doing this.
Yeah, 100%. And can we go a little bit more deep?
Well,
let's do that, baby. Let's go deeper. So I actually want to share with you, because Scott and I, obviously, we live together. We're housemates. And I feel very blessed because we both are on this spiritual journey and, self-development and growth. And we really want to be in service of others and to really leave this world better than we left it. But also with all the inner working and all the ego death that we've been going through, there is a little bit of tension, let's say, between the two polar opposites of the being, but also of the wanting to do more and be of service and create more. Because let's be honest, we did not come here to play small. But there is also, again, the fact that we get too much busy doing and we forget to be. So can we talk a little bit about that, on that, and as well how sometimes motivation can be a bit of an issue? Because I know we've been talking about a lot about this stuff.
I have. It's been very pertinent in my life in the last few months, few weeks. But I'm just torn a little bit at the moment. I see so many people are as well about being called to step up more in life, and then also again calling to step down and be quieter and just stay at home and live a simple life. And I guess I know there's a delicate balance there somewhere. And I guess that can change from day to day too. It's whatever's pulling at our heartstrings. If we've been called to nurture yourself and be quiet, sometimes that's what's required, and other times it's about stepping up and being more in life in general, in all aspects.
So what would you like to bring as your gifts or share as your gifts, or what as well would you like to see happening in this lifetime, and what type of legacy do you want to leave?
Yeah, sure. I guess in a nutshell, for me, it comes back to one of the quotes out of Conversations with God trilogy, actually, is be the change that we wish to see in the world. So whatever it is that I'd like to see change, it's for me to demonstrate and put that into action. And anyone that comes along for the ride, great. And those that don't, well, that's great too. They've got their own path. But I guess that's it for me, and it's what pulls at my heartstrings. A personal growth for me is where it's at. It's all about remembering the truth and reality of who and what we are, and I don't think that ever finishes. I think that's just a deeper and deeper and deeper process all the time. And every so-called master that's walked the planet, there's been two things that they've basically preached. One is know thyself and not believe in thyself. I did a post about this the other day. It's time it's dropping the beliefs.
It's the
It's
knowing.
blind faith, and to step into that knowing, which is another term for the essence of who and what we are, is internal knowing,
100%.
universal knowing. It's all the same thing, universal intelligence. We've got that inner intelligence, which is organic and not artificial.
Yeah, organic, intelligent, artificial. Ah, wonderful. Well, this was our first conversation with Scott, but we will be coming back often. Not sure yet, maybe once a week, maybe once a fortnight, around that time. And we have been talking about bringing different topics and series. And one of Scott's favorite topics that I think is going to be the first we're going to tackle is fear. And yeah, so we're preparing something really special, and it's going to be a whole mini series or maybe a mega series. I don't know. We'll see, we'll see what happens. But yeah, thank you for watching, lovely people, brothers and sisters. This was just a bit of an introduction as well. As I say, we really want you to get to know us, to know our tribe. And so, you know, if you actually do align with us, and if you do want to, you know, work with us and create something amazing for the future. My lovely people, sending so many hugs, much, much love and gratitude always. Have a happy, happy Sunday.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks, Scott. Bye.